I'm not telling you you're wrong. What I'm telling you is that I have no idea what was in Daniel Penny's head. He could have been motivated by race. He could not have been motivated by race.
The jury did. That's why they just cleared him.
I would disagree with anyone who says he did that because of race. But I would also disagree with you saying unequivocally that race wasn't on his mind. You have no idea, but you have
there is no evidence
to say things
as There's no evidence.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? We have Piers Morgan here in this interview that also included Tommy Lahren. I said earlier I was going to get back to this one just because of this individual that is on the panel. Again, he is another one of those people that the late, great J.C. Watts would have considered a race-baiting poverty pimp. His name is, I'd say, Dr. Marcus Van Hill, I believe. I don't know if I have that right, nor do I care. If anybody wants to look it up, you go right ahead, hit me in the comments, and, you know, I'll care. Anyway, so, but this guy is pretty much indicative of the leftist college system that has been pumping out individuals like this for nigh 50 years, fueled by affirmative action and race hatred. So let's go on and let's listen as Piers Morgan demolishes leftist professor's hateful comments on Daniel Penny.
Mark, it has nothing to do with skin colour. And people that try and imply that it is, they are the ones playing the race card. I honestly believe that on this story. I've studied it in detail. I've seen all the footage. I've seen all the accounts. This is not a race story. Daniel Penny didn't do anything predicated on the skin colour of Jordan Neely. He did it to protect people, as Tommy said, black, white, whoever. They were a multiracial subway at the time. Right? Where's the race element of this?
And folks, I want to be at 500 subscribers by Christmas, so hit that subscribe button if you already have it and join the party.
I'm fascinated by the certainty with which you say
you tell me why I'm wrong.
Motivated by
tell me why
race.
I'm
wrong. I'm not telling you you're wrong. What I'm telling you is that I have no idea what was in Daniel Penny's head. He could have been motivated by race. He could not have been motivated by race.
The jury did. That's why they just cleared him.
I would.
Now, this guy is making actually a rather cogent, philosophical, and logical argument that you can't ever know what's going on in somebody's head. The problem is that he's pointedly picking a subject to say whether it was or not in somebody's head. And again, this is a type of grift that individuals like this, who have basically manipulated the modern educational system to move through to places where they don't necessarily belong, to project this type of message. An individual like this, okay, keeps his fingernail in the wound of racism in this country to always make sure that it's open, all right? Because if it ever closed up and we ever actually kind of got to a point where we could at least deal with one another on that level, okay, he would disappear, and he knows it, and that's why he's constantly, prying open the wound.
I would disagree with anyone who says he did that because of race, but I would also disagree with you saying unequivocally that race wasn't on his mind. You have no idea, but you have
there is no evidence
to say things
as There's no evidence.
You have but
zero.
I agree with you, and that's why
zero evidence,
and that's why.
So it's completely concocted.
I disagree with that. It's not completely concocted when you look at actual data on these types of things. But the bigger issue for me, because again, I'm not making a race.
How many types of these have there been?
Because
give me another one.
How many times?
How many times has a Marine veteran done a 6-minute chokehold to protect people on a subway from somebody who shouted, "I'm going to kill you"?
Piers, pardon me. I keep saying Piers. Piers leaning into the 6-minute chokehold thing. Again, if he had a hold of him for 6 minutes and the guy was still breathing, he was not in a classic chokehold. I've said this before, okay? It takes about 5 or so minutes to choke somebody to death, and half of that time is spent still applying the maneuver to somebody who is basically unconscious, okay? So believe me, all right? If he had killed, or if he had wanted to kill, okay, the individual going crazy on the train, Daniel Penny could have done it within 6 minutes, and the guy would have been dead, okay? And witnesses have said that they saw the man's chest going up and down while he breathed after Penny, had released the hold.
How many times has that happened that you can rattle off right now, given you say it happens all the time?
So Piers, to be clear, I said things like this happen all the time, and the kind of sardonic question that you're asking seems clever to people who aren't smart, but as someone who's a trained...
And there we go, because if you don't buy leftist racial politics, you are stupid, okay? And that is by leftists, you know, because they know.
social scientist, you don't have to have the exact same contextual factors
to make
comparisons.
Sorry, Mark, I'm sorry.
Okay, I was in the social sciences for a while. I was actually a psych major for a couple of years, and let me tell you, the social scientists are largely crap.
You don't have to be a trained social
scientist. For example,
scientist.
it were a school bus instead of a subway, it wouldn't make it less important. If he were an Army vet instead of a Marine vet, it wouldn't make it less relevant. It's a silly question to ask me, when was the last time...
The only relevance that it has to this individual is that a white man killed a black man, and that's it. And that is the whole reason for, okay, his desire to see Daniel Penny put away in prison. That's it. It doesn't make a difference what the black man may have done beforehand to somehow maybe justify Penny's actions. That doesn't make a difference. It is a white man killing a black man, therefore the white man must go to prison.
Or a Marine vet on the subway, blah, 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 blah. That's not the point.
Okay, so...
My point is, I never made it about race.
Hang on.
I never made it about race.
Hang on. So far, you've called me...
You've completely and utterly made it about race, okay? By your words and actions, you have made it about race, and you know it.
Silly... And you say you're...
I didn't call you dumb.
What kind of scientist are you?
I didn't call you dumb.
What scientist are you?
Time out. You're not listening. I think you're very smart. I think you're making an argument that will only be persuasive to people who are not as smart as you. I never said you were dumb.
Well, let me respond to that.
When you rewind this, you'll see I never...
Again, okay, this is somebody, all right, who is basically accusing Piers Morgan of doing the exact same thing that he does. His entire life depends on spreading information, okay, incorrect information to people who aren't smart enough to disseminate it and actually see it for the lies that it is.
I never called you dumb. Yeah. I said you were being sarcastic.
You don't need to be, with respect, Mark.
I think you're being snarky with the
Mark,
question.
You don't need to be
so again,
with respect, you don't need to be a social scientist to know that there is zero evidence of any racial motivation for what Daniel Penny did. So people who are trying to infer it, that somehow, as the founder of BLM in New York says, if you think he's innocent, you're a racist, and the KKK just got another victory. I'm not a social scientist, but I know that's horseshit.
It is horseshit, and thank you very much, Piers Morgan. You know what? I have gotten stuff from people who are talking about Piers Morgan being a centrist, and you know what? Classically, you can consider Piers Morgan a centrist. I will say he's leftist-leaning, because a lot of the things that he says and a lot of the ways he feels go with all on the left. He is, however, an old school leftist, okay? And old school leftists still had an idea of right and wrong, where today's leftists have seemingly blurred those lines so much that they don't even know what those words mean. But, again, Piers is taking this guy to task for the absolute bullshit, okay, that is coming out of this man's mouth. He is doing everything he can, okay, to use an academic style of argument about how every white person is racist. And that's basically what he's getting at.
Right. Again, the statement from the BLM person in New York, I don't share, I don't echo, I don't agree with. You're asking me to defend a statement that I don't agree with. The statement that I am making, that you and I should be engaging, is the issue of implicit bias and the issue of use of force. There is...
What bias?
There is... I said implicit bias.
Okay, just let's extrapolate that. You think if Jordan Neely had been white and came on that subway, right, and was acting like a deranged lunatic, as he was, but if he'd been white, do you think that Daniel Penny wouldn't have intervened? Because that's what you're implying.
That's not what I'm implying. What I'm saying
bias,
is...
Then? Where's the bias?
He is implying it. He's implying it. Oh my God.
Okay.
Where's
implicit bias? That's not what implicit... Okay. Let me use it. It's clear that you don't understand what implicit bias is, so let me just use a different word, with all due respect.
Hat on.
If you'll just let me finish the sentence, I promise you'll hear me. what I'm saying is that I have no reason to believe that he was motivated by race or that he was not motivated by race. But the idea that someone could be motivated by race is not outside of the realm of possibility based on ample data that shows that people are more likely to use force against black people, that they tend to believe that black bodies are stronger and more physically resilient. And
yeah, I love the way that these idiots always use any way that they can to masturbate their own racial ego. No, it's because black men are perceived to be more violent in those situations. It has absolutely nothing to do with strength and or resilience, my friend. Okay, it is how black people react. Okay, when they are in those situations. It could also be the 18.5 times more likely that police are killed by a black assailant. Okay, it could be something like that too, but you know, we can't take responsibility for our own actions.
Therefore, they think they have to hold them in chokeholds longer. There's plenty of police data that shows that, including New York Police Department data. So when you asked me to show other examples, no, I don't have examples of other Michael Jackson impersonators on subways being choked by Marines, but there is other evidence of people in very comparable circumstances where race has mattered. But again, I'm not making a...
Again, manipulating the evidence, okay, and interjecting your own politics into it where it may not have been the case.
Racial argument. I'm saying that the guy choked him too long and he should still be alive right now. And the fact that he was held for that many minutes and people on the subway were literally saying, "You're killing him," that is evidence that he should have stopped. Again, I'm not taking issue with the subduing of him. I'm taking issue with how long he held him, how long he choked him, and that he didn't stop him. Once that big guy's on top of him and he has physical control, and there's a whole subway watching, he could have stopped choking him. That's all I'm saying.
Listen. Obviously, he choked him for too long, or the guy would still be alive. It's whether he did this deliberately.
Okay, there again. And then this is Piers Morgan doing exactly what a leftist would do. Okay? No. All right? He did not die from being choked too long. That has been proven in a court of law. Okay? He was not choking the man for too long. He was subduing the man. The man died because of all the damage that he had done to himself through drugs and living on the street. That is actually in the report.
Obviously, he didn't. So let's just agree on those two facts.
All right, so there you have it. This is Piers Morgan Demolishes, leftist professor's hateful comments on Daniel Penny. This is indicative of the left, and especially the racial left. Let's put it that way. White people are always wrong. Black people are always right, because the cult of victimology cannot accept the fact that people have agency and someone could have done something wrong to justify the actions that were counted against them. But again, as I said, this is the modern left. So you can only win by voting these people out of any type of authority or influence. Okay? Because honestly, any other way of taking care of it by violence does not work. It may work in the short term, but it does not work in the long term, and that has been proven over history. So thank you all very much for joining me today. Like, share, please hit that subscribe button, and have a great day. Later.